Hello there and welcome back, Cozy Club. Today, we are going to talk about and have a conversation about legendary characters. Legendaries, you either hate to love them, you love to hate them, probably both. But they are by far the game's best characters, and if not handled correctly, can quickly and swiftly end your matches within DSA. With all that being said, today's video is probably one of the most important videos here at the Cozy Club, as today we're going to walk through every single legendary and how to counter them. Now, this is going to be somewhat of a quick video with a mass amount of information. We're going to go over every legendary that came out in chronological order, starting out with Elsa. And we're going to go and highlight what the strengths are of each and every one, how you can kind of use those against them, or what can work to kind of slow those strengths down. And then obviously, most importantly, what characters, harmful effects, or spells are best to go up against them. Now, it's not a one-size-fit-all glove, guys. There's a lot of ways around, as every match is different. And there's hundreds of characters to support these legendaries. However, that being said, if you don't understand the legendaries that you're fighting, you're going to have no chance against them. We're going to go over a lot today, but if you're putting out harmful effects or you're doing moves at the wrong time, you can completely misplay what you need to do on characters like Hercules and Ralph, and some very important characters that you have to carefully manage throughout the battle. Let's jump right into it and start with Elsa. Elsa, once the most powerful character in the game, has settled down a bit. Now, once Gear 9 does come out, she's going to get a whole lot better and a much bigger threat on the field, but definitely probably the least threatening out of all the legendaries we'll talk about today. Now, her biggest standout abilities are going to be her silence via force of nature, or what a lot of people like to say, her ultimate that you're going to see in Barley Bombs or other team comps like that, called Show Yourself. Now, as you guys know, Show Yourself is going to get boosted by the helpful effects on Elsa, which most of you guys know by now, as she's been out the longest in over a year. The more helpful effects on Elsa, the more damage she's going to pump out through her basic and Show Yourself. Glacial Armor is the last ability we'll talk about. It's her passive that really is the key to her survivability. One of the only characters in the game that no matter how much damage you do to her, she's going to survive those first shots, and that's very important when handling and going against Elsa. Now, Cozy Club, there's a handful of legendaries we're going to be talking about today that have the uniqueness to them that is empowered. Now, Elsa is going to be one of those, and once she goes through all 4 of her spirits above her, she's going to go ahead and gain Empower status. Empowered Elsa is a whole different beast, and hopefully you don't have to run into her, and usually in today's meta you really don't, with all that damage being provided on the field. Counter tip number 1. With Elsa, you mainly want to keep an eye on her turns. Don't let her get to turn 4, so go ahead and let her do her thing, maybe get that silence out or whatever she does the first couple of turns. Just keep an eye on her, as there's probably more important characters to focus. But once Elsa has had 2, 3, or even 4 turns, you definitely want to start focusing on her. Don't let her get to her empowered state, or even with 3 spirits, maybe even 4. You want to just ensure that she doesn't just pop off and go crazy and destroy your whole team with Show Yourself. Now, if in fact that Elsa on the enemy team pops Show Yourself really early in the battle, you definitely don't have to manage her as much, and you can kind of just let her do her thing, because it's going to take so long for her to get that back. You can usually handle her by the time she gets it. Elsa counter tip number 2. Make sure you manage buffs and her supports. Essentially, the more buffs that she does have, the more damage she's going to put out. So you want to make sure that you handle those support characters like Cobra Bubbles or any other characters that are going to feed her copious amounts of helpful effects. You can do that, or you can go ahead and just make sure you keep her purged, silenced, kind of shut her down. Again, typically you want to save those more powerful debuffs for other legendaries, but if Elsa is on a mass legendary team, you can somewhat just purge and get rid of those helpful effects, as there's not a lot to fear because the damage isn't going to really scratch your team all too much. Again, she's one of the most easy legendaries to handle, and these are my favorite characters to make sure you handle the job right. Madam Mim and Megara are great for that helpful immunity, as once you place that on her, it's going to really shut down what she does well. And really, any large purging characters are going to be amazing, like Ralph, Baymax. Beast is great to get that shaken and intimidate on there. Scrooge McDuck can take those buffs, and, well, any other big damage characters to handle her. Next up is Baymax. Baymax is still regarded as one of the best legendaries in the game and is still a top tier tank within DSA. Now, his auto taunt is what really stands him out from every other character. That, along with his AoE purging ability, is one of a kind. His taunt and invincibility can really get in the way and ruin a lot of game plans that you have set up, so it's really important on how to manage him and shut him down before the battle even begins. So Baymax is kind of an interesting legendary, as he definitely gets in the way and is just more annoying than anything else. But with the release of a lot of characters that can control the battlefield, it's getting a lot more easy to manage. You just want to make sure that you do that swiftly. So we're only going to have one big counter tip against him, along with some other characters that are going to be great going against the big red doctor. Baymax counter tip number 1. Really, you've got 2 missions with Baymax. Number 1 is get those harmful effects on him, and number 2 is get rid of the taunt. If you've done both of those things, he's not going to do really anything, and it's honestly a waste of a character for your enemy once he has been taken care of. So for this tip, you really want to look at your roster and see which characters can go ahead and purge helpful effects, and on top of that, get an extra bonus by applying a powerful debuff. Silence, Intimidate, Stun, Charm, those are all amazing. But if you land Stun and Charm and he still has that taunt, he's effectively still doing his job for the team. So you want to make sure, first and foremost, you get rid of that taunt, and then you want to follow that up with the Silence, Intimidate, something that they can't just, I don't know, use a wand or upgrade him to then get that mass purge. One of the biggest things and flaws that I see in people's gameplay most of the time is they get rid of that taunt, you know, maybe they silence him, but all it takes is one blue fairy magic or wand to cleanse up Baymax. He's going to get full turn meter, then he'll do that mass purge and AoE cleanse for his team. So effectively, you really did nothing. So get rid of the taunt, put a polymorph, a stun, something to lock him down, and Intimidate is going to be your best friend, and that's going to counter all those wands and mass AoE cleansings that you keep seeing. My personal favorite characters against him are going to be Ursula, as she definitely can get rid of that taunt and get a polymorph. Turn 1, shut down Baymax. You can go ahead, use that ability, set it and forget it. Also, Frollo is going to be great, as he can strip the taunt and provide continuous damage that can usually just completely knock out Baymax, and or put a silence to make sure he doesn't get his move. Now, Cobra Bubbles is great for that Intimidate, Silence, and he can Purge. Mother Gothel can waste his taunt on that first turn, and you can go back and apply an Intimidate. Beast and Bell work pretty good, as you do have that Intimidate out on the field, and if they try to wand him up or upgrade him, you can go ahead and match that with Beast and maybe kill him or take the taunt for yourself. And then by a large amount, and probably the largest free-to-play amount, Honey Lemon is a great counter to Baymax. She's able to Purge, put Intimidate, and just kind of shut him down altogether. And if you want to go the damage route, Stitch Experiment 626 is also great to just nuke him down with all the charges that he gets. All right, our next legendary is Beast. And Beast is probably what made this video so hard, as he has the least obvious counters, as he's really able to not be shut down by harmful effects because of the consistent enchanted roses on him and the very high tenacity that this legendary has. Beast is, well, just to put it simple, a beast. He's regarded as one of the trickiest legendaries to counter. I will say Beast is more of just kind of a nuisance or a hindrance while he's not empowered. He's going to go ahead and obviously get full-blown crazy enraged and empowered once he loses all of those roses, and those roses are going to dictate how well he's able to resist harmful effects. When you're facing Beast, you must consistently be mindful of the turn meter gain that you're giving to your opponents. Watch out for his shakens on the field and the huge damage that he can provide once he's empowered. Beast counter tip number 1. This one's easy. For starters, if Bell is on the field, you definitely want to go after Bell first. Get rid of his right-hand woman. She's a massive support to such a great character. So definitely don't focus Beast, then Bell. Get rid of Bell and then put all of your focus on Beast. Beast counter tip number 2, really just damage, like a lot of damage. There's no harmful effects that are going to get through him. So Davy Jones, Zerg Vision, like just put a ton of pressure on him and try to whittle him down. You know, make sure that they don't have Grandma Tala to heal him up, but just load damage on this guy, as the defense up, the health, the shields. He's got a lot to go through. So this tip is just pump out a lot of damage. Beast counter tip number 3. This one's going to be short and sweet, but essentially when Beast does have taunts, go ahead and at that moment, you try to give your team turn meter, give him another turn, thus burning through that turn, wasting that taunt, and going after more important characters on the field. Because again, until Beast is empowered, he's not going to be that much of a need to focus. unless you've got summoned units or characters that are constantly giving turn meter. Learn coin flips. If you guys don't know how DSA works, there's going to be coin flips during the battle. Have you ever wondered if you've got the same speed and characters as other people, why are they going first? And that's decided through a coin flip. Now, this is kind of confusing, but essentially, if they win the coin flip at the beginning of the battle, how DSA works is they're going to then win every other coin flip. Now, I hate this. I think it's a lazy way to design it, and I really hope that they bring more RNG for every chance that that happens. But if you're going to be losing those coin flips, ensure that you know that. Ensure that you know that that beast is always going to go before your beast or before any other character gaining a turn. This tip is going to help you massively if you're having problems with Beast consistently getting those turns through his passive. And our last Beast counter tip today is going to be watch out for adjacent characters to your tanks. Beast has Intimidate, he's got Shaken, and that just completely disrupts so many characters like Honey Lemon or Ursula or Hercules. So if you've got Baymax on the field, don't have Ursula right behind him, because all that's going to do is have a chance for Ursula to get Shaken and Intimidate. There goes those blinds, there goes the polymorph, and it really shuts down a ton of your best controlling characters. Now, when it comes to Beast and his characters, I love Hercules as he's constantly going to get that offense down on him with all of the turn meter gain that he gains. Ralph is also great just to get that one shot, ignore Beast and then go and one shot him with Ralph's super special. But outside of legendaries, Pain and Panic with Stasis really doesn't make him a problem. Ursula is definitely amazing with him. Once Beast has lost some of his roses, she has amazing potency with that polymorph, so you can go ahead and shut him down that way. Or again, use those strong hitting characters like Davy Jones, Zerg, Wasabi's good against Beast with the helpful effects, Elastigirl, Robin Hood, or even Big Bad Wolf. And quickly, lastly, our first spell tip and also Gaston tip. If you get AoE turn meter, it's going to be a better way to give turn meter to your team like Gaston or Sugar Rush, as you're not going to be giving Beast multiple turns. He'll get the one, but you'll have the advantage by getting your whole team sped up and turn meter spread throughout. Oh yeah, avoid summoning units. If you guys want to know what I'm talking about, go to the villains tips and tricks video. It's one of the last tips. Great video overall. Go check it out. All right, well, Beast was a little bit more tricky. This one's a lot more simplistic. That is, if we're not talking about Club Conquest, it's going to be Mickey Mouse. Mickey Mouse is going to be a very unique legendary. Outside of Disneyland Forever, he doesn't do a lot. Yes, calling everyone to assist is nice and can definitely help out a ton of characters. Outside of that Club Conquest, he isn't the biggest threat by any means and pretty easy to counter and control. Tip number 1 to countering the mouse. You want to make sure you use characters that excel at removing turn meter or just inflict slow or one of those other debuffs. You don't want to waste your best debuffs on Mickey. Just kind of keep him out of the battlefield. He's rather slow for the most part, so slap a slow or just kind of control his turn meter through people like Mulan and some of the other characters we're going to talk about here in a minute. Tip number 2. It is absolutely essential to keep track of Disneyland Forever. That means cauldrons, that means teammates. Make sure you know exactly how much magic is going to the mouse, because if you don't, he's going to swiftly in your team. If you don't have a debuff out there, he's going to quickly demolish the team, or even at worst, he's going to heal up the rest of his team that you've been working on. While you've been controlling the mouse, he'll get that turn, and all of your progress is wiped. Tip number 3. Polymorph, Charm, Slow, Offense Down, and Blind are going to be the most vital debuffs when it comes to placing certain harmful effects on Mickey Mouse. If Mickey Mouse is about to get that Disneyland Forever, you can break the old emergency glass and get a Blind and Offense Down on him, and it's really not going to do much. It's still going to heal his team, but you don't have to worry about taking a copious amount of damage. Now, as far as Charm and Polymorph and Stun, you can inflict that on him and you can pretty much kill him and not have to worry about him if there's not other legendaries to use some of these stronger harmful effects on. Now, my favorite characters to handle Mickey, again, not in Club Conquest, in that you really just want to make sure you purge him and get him debuffed as fast as possible. But Mulan with the constant turn meter reduction, Bubbles, Ursula, Peter Pan all have great harmful effects to shut him down. cooldown. Ralph can decrease those cooldowns. Pain and Panic, you can just go ahead and stasis him and then AoE the team away. Jafar for the charms. Pegasus for the blinds and the offense down. Rapunzel, there's plenty of characters that all work really well. This next legendary is probably why most of you guys even came to this video. I don't even know where I start with this son of a... To put it simply, Hercules is easily the most important character that requires your attention and knowledge on how to counter him, how his whole entire kit works, and you just want to make sure you focus everything on him so that he doesn't go out of control and easily defeat your team and win the match. Cozy Club, even with all of the theory crafting and testing and constant streaming that I'm doing against Hercules, he's still one of those characters that if you don't go against him the right way, he can win and really just hold up the entire team. You can put all the F tier and blues with him. It doesn't matter. He's going to carry the load even on auto or obviously when he's being controlled. Hercules is an absolute unit. All right, guys, to understand Hercules is to understand his kit. Hercules is going to gain 20% turn meter and get stacks of heroism each and every time you hit him with Protect or Taunt. So naturally, characters like Peter Pan, Dash, Stitch, Wasabi, any multi-hitting characters are just a big no-no, just a terrible idea. Peter Pan will hit 3 of those protects out. He's only going to gain 1 heroism, but you gave him a free turn and it's going to get bad quickly. Let's go ahead and break down how Hercules gains protect in the first place. When any of Hercules' teammates take damage, he's going to have a 15% chance to gain protect. If any of these teammates are below that 85% health threshold, this isn't including shield, they're going to have that chance guaranteed on Hercules to gain that protect. So essentially, guys, once he's empowered, it's pretty much RIP for the entire team, unless you have certain amount of characters like Ralph or Mortal Potion to help you out a little bit more. Tip number 1, and probably the most important tip while going against Hercules, and that's going to be hit Hercules, kill Hercules, go after him when he does not have Protect or Taunt. Guys, I cannot say this enough. Going after his teammates is just going to feed him more protects, so go right after the head of the snake, attack him, don't allow him to get these protects fast, and most of all, you don't have to deal with all that damage mitigation that he's going to consistently get and try to go through all those protects that he'll otherwise have throughout the battle. Tip number 2, like the other ones, are going to be some great harmful effects to help manage the god. Shaken is going to be amazing to stop his non-stop offense down counters that he seems like he's getting all of the time. Put Shaken on him and you really don't have to worry about all those offense downs. Also, Intimidate is going to prevent him from getting that mass turn meter from losing those protections. So naturally, Intimidate is already one of the best debuffs and a lot more characters have access to this now. Place that on Hercules if you're trying to decide who on the battlefield to place the harmful effect on. Obviously, putting Helpful Immunity is going to stop everything from above in his kit, working. So that's a great debuff. But one thing I need to call everybody's attention to on how his passive works altogether is going to be Stun versus something like Charm, okay? So Charm, he's going to go ahead and cleanse that once he has 5 stacks of heroism, as his passive will get rid of it. It doesn't matter if he's on your side. He's going to cleanse it, get rid of it, and destroy your team. While Stun doesn't allow passives to work. So if you stun him, it's going to skip a turn. He won't be able to cleanse, and you have another shot to kill him before he gets that turn meter and gets, the Pillar of Death. Mortal Potion, MP Mortal Potion, guys. This is going to be huge to tackle Hercules, as it was honestly kind of made to go against him, right? You can get rid of those protects, all those helpful effects on him to kind of neuter him before the big heroic Hercules shows up. You don't have to really focus on feeding him turn meter, and it's just great to get rid of that invincibility for a lot of teams, especially someone like the Oceanics. If he in fact does hit heroism and you don't have Mortal Potion, you're done. You're done, especially until Glue manages to fix the bug with the constant protect and invincibility. Just one of the most upsetting things that can happen, and I'm hoping Glue and the DSA team, you hear this, you gotta fix it. It's been about a month and a half. This thing has got to get fixed and the bugs got to go away. Tip number 3 is going to be a short one, guys. Bring Blue Fairy Magic or Wand against him. If you've got Zerg, Namari, some of these characters that rely on offense, flip those offense down that Hercules keeps implying and turn into offense up. Tip number 4 is going to be the same as some of the other characters. It's all about the big nukes. Davy Jones, Zerg, Frollo, Shere Khan are going to be all amazing for high damage. And if you open up the battle and go straight for Hercules, it's going to kind of, shut him down, and he's not going to be able to gain protects too much because he's just going to die through them. Now, Scrooge and Baymax, they're going to be great for taking the buffs from him or just shutting him down that way. And lastly, you've got Judy Hopps that can put constant stuns out with the offense downs going to her downtown hero teammates. Peter Pan with charms and stuns and intimidates to control him. Honey Lemon with the stun and the intimidates and the turn meter reduction. Beast and Bubbles with those constant intimidates are going to all be great to handle the god. And the last character that's obvious, and there's no question about this, really for all the legendaries, is Pain and Panic. They are the legendary counter built into their kit with great speed under Miguel. You can throw a stasis and just not have to worry about him at all. So, Cozy Club, just be mindful. Be mindful of what you're doing against Hercules. Make sure you know when he's going to gain heroic. Make sure you're watching his teammates' health bars and get rid of him quickly. Or, have Ralph just one-hit him to oblivion. Alrighty, guys, we've got one more legendary. Hopefully, this is really providing a lot of info for you guys. And I know a lot of you guys are, okay, I've got Hercules handled. What about the new guy, Ralph? The newest legendary Ralph, who many underestimate, is pretty balanced as far as his stats and his entire kit goes. Now, he can absolutely be tricky if you don't know how to handle him, and he'll be able to rip your team apart by getting rid of your helpful effects, increasing your cooldown so you can use nothing but your basics, and one-shotting your best characters. Ralph just simply doesn't care at all whether Hercules is empowered or Moana is protected through Mount. It doesn't matter. Ralph is going to one-shot you and just eliminate that team that you spend all that time protecting your best character. Here are some last tips on how to handle Ralph. Tip number 1, I feel like we're broken record, but it's honestly the truth. Go straight after him with the big-time nukes. Now, unlike some characters like Davy Jones, he's going to get a big hit on him, but that silence will just be cleansed through Ralph's passive. You want to do a character like Shere Khan, because how Shere Khan's going to work is essentially he's going to throw all those continuous damages up. There's not going to be enough that he can go ahead and cleanse with that passive, and by the time Ralph takes that instant turn, he's going to die to the continuous damage. Or, you can do Davy Jones and have like Namari, have a big time hitter, and then have Namari finish him off. Is also a great way to handle Ralph. Now, for tip number 2, and it's very contradictory to tip number 1, and that's completely ignore Ralph. So long you don't fill up on buffs and he pounds your team straight to the gates of hell, really, mid-fight, Ralph doesn't bring a lot to the team. You can safely work around him and go after other characters, and just make sure you're mindful of AoEs or going after Vanellope. Tip number 3 is a quick one, but honestly a pretty easy one. You don't want to load your team up with buffs as quickly as possible, because Ralph is just going to use that second special, and for every buff, you're going to be increasing magic, giving him a chance to do a lot of things with that passive, and his ability is going to be reducing your cooldowns. You're done. Don't stack on buffs too heavy. They're going to get debuffed. You're going to get your team screwed. Just make sure you're mindful at the start of the battle. Tip number 4, the way his passive works is going to be at 60% health, and then at 30% health, he's going to gain those extra turns. So maybe just tap the ball in, get him barely to 70, 65% health, and then nuke him with a big hit and get past that 30% threshold to really make sure you take him down. And as far as our last tip is concerned, really, debuff-wise, it's tricky because he can cleanse them very easily, but Polymorph obviously works well, or my personal favorite is going to be Jafar with both of his debuffs. With Jafar, you can do Time is Running Out combined with some harmful effects, and that's my favorite way to get rid of him. Or you can go ahead and Charm him for 2 turns. That's my favorite debuff on Ralph, because then you can go straight after him. He's going to hit his own team, purge his own effects on team, and then he hits himself, which works out pretty well, and it's a 2-turn charm, which really controls his entire kit. Characters like Jafar, Shere Khan, Namari, Ursula, there are many other damage dealers that are going to work great to get rid of Ralph, but mainly, instead of characters, focus on the right strategy to take him down. And with that, my friends, we have gone through all of the legendaries, and I've given you guys a lot of the tips on how to counter every single legendary within the game. Learning how to counter them is just as important as anything else in the characters that you bring in. My overall last point is, guys, anything with big turn meter reduction like Rapunzel or Esmeralda, some of these other characters like Pain and Panic, obviously, are going to be those catch-all legendary counters. So those are great characters to invest in that help you in many other game modes as well. Now, if you're new to the Cozy Club or you just somehow haven't been over to my Twitch stream, guys, make sure you stop on by. We go over all this stuff plenty, guys. I'm using the best characters maxed out to really show you guys what it looks like at in-game and what you're building towards. So my friends, if you haven't already, subscribe to this channel as it helps support me a lot. And come stop by the Twitch stream, guys. Ask a question, ask about your roster. I would love to see you there. As always, guys, thank you guys so much for stopping by. And until next time, stay cozy.